Hello students, how are you? I think you are well by the grace of Almighty. I am also fine by the grace of Almighty. Welcome to my class and welcome to my YouTube channel Learn with Sultan Joy. So today we shall discuss another theme, another poem we shall discuss. The poem which is included to your syllabus, Unit 6, Lesson 3. The poem is The Schoolboy by William Blake. Okay. And lesson 3 title is Why Does a Child Hate School? And before going to the poem, we shall have to discuss about the poet. This poem is written by William Blake. He was an English poet. He is not only English poet actually. He was a poet, he was a painter, he was a printmaker, he was a visionary poet actually. But he was not recognized during his lifetime. Blake is now considered a seminal figure in the history of English poetry and visual art of the Romantic age. He was born in November 28, 1757, London, United Kingdom. So he was English poet. He died August 12, 1827, United Kingdom. He was actually pre-romantic, but in his poems we get many characteristics of romanticism. His famous works, which is included to one of second year syllabuses for National University, Songs of Innocence and of Songs of Experience. His poems is too easy and his language is very simple and lucid so that everyone can be understood very easily. Most of his poems actually we get a pastoral setting. So this was the Blake's life. Now have a look at this on the poem. The poem is Schoolboy. Here we get a schoolboy. Actually he was very fed up and he didn't like the school at all, and the reason is why he didn't like the schools. And you see, it is the very common scenario in our country and most of the countries. You see why children don't like schools, teachers and the classes and the time they spend in the school. Why? The reason is there is no recreation in the school and monotonous class, and teachers' behavior are very rude. They are not sympathetic to the children actually didn't find out any recreation, any pleasant, any merry making. They feel it boring, because you see most of the schools actually give pressure for what? Pressure for homework, pressure for reading, pressure for writing, many other things. That is why students or the children, they fear the classes, they fear the teachers, and also they fear the school. What shall we have to make? We have to make a recreational atmosphere in the schools so that they become very attracted with the schools and go to schools regularly. Teachers should be very kindly to the students, caring and supportive, so that the children feel relaxed. No harsh words will be spoken to them, and special care will be taken of children with learning disabilities. But very unfortunately, it is not the general pictures in our schools. The system of education in our part of the world does not allow children much freedom, and classroom look more like cages. They feel it is prison where they are very fed up for hours. That means they passing anxious time in the school. So when the school will be closed, they will count down the time. No more talking about the poems. Now let us turn on to the text. So the Schoolboy poem is 30 lines poem and it has 6 stanzas, and every stanzas there are 5 lines. So stanza number 1 I am reading. I love to rise in a summer morn. You see, morn means morning. Okay, so he loves to arise in a summer morning. Why he loves? Because in the next line he said the reason. When the birds sing on every tree. That means in summer morning birds sing on every branches of the tree. The atmosphere is very quiet. The gentle breeze blows in the morning. That is why it seems a very congenial atmosphere for any students or any children's or any person. So here a schoolboy, he says, I love to rise in a summer morn when the birds sing on every tree. And in the next line he says for another reason why he likes summer morning. You know, summer is very pleasant season in United Kingdom. Why? Because in a winter season there is snow, frost everywhere. That vehicles doesn't move, and the people were in a caged. The people become caged in a room. There is no atmosphere to go outside to enjoy the beautiful scenery, to enjoy the day. And on the contrary, the summer season, there was light, there was sunshine, so everything becomes very congenial. That is why summer is a very pleasant season for the European countries. Okay. In the third line, the schoolboy says that why he likes the summer morning. Okay. The third line is the distant huntsman. You know, the distant means very far away. Okay. Remote places. The distant huntsman means who actually hunt the bird. Okay, he is called the huntsman. So the distant huntsman winds his horn. That means the distant huntsman, that means in a far away there were many hunters. They actually blow their trumpet, they make sounds to catch the bird. Okay, so this scenario also likes very much by the schoolboy. Okay. And the next line also explains why he likes the summer morning. And the skylark sings with me. That means skylark is one kind of bird who sings very pleasantly. Okay. So he says, and the skylark sings with me. Oh, what sweet company. So he says, the schoolboy says, the company, I mean the relation, I mean the connection, I mean the bondage, or the surrounding atmosphere is very sweet. Okay, so in the first stanza we get the scenery of the summer, and it is a very pleasant summary. So introduction with innocence, introduction is very pleasant. Okay, so have a look at this next stanza number 2. But to go to school in summer morn, oh, it drives all joy away. The next stanza, actually the schoolboy is very fed up to go to the school. When he feels that I should go to school, he feels very boring. He didn't feel relaxed. Why? Because the schools doesn't give him a pleasure. He does not find out any jovial atmosphere in the schools. That is why he says to go to school in a summer morn, it drives all joy away. That means it casts away all the joys. When he feels that I should go to school, his minds become gloomy. Okay, his minds becomes crestfallen. Okay, his minds become lackluster. In the next 2 or 3 lines, he explains why he actually does not want to go to school. Under a cruel eye outworn. That means the cruel eye, the teacher's eye is very cruel. They are very rude. They doesn't behave very friendly to the students. That is what he said. Under a cruel eye outworn. That means the cruel eye, the red eyes of the teachers punish the students, or the students or the children become feared to see the red eyes of the teachers. The little ones spend the day. The little ones means every schoolboy actually. They spend their days in a fearful mood, in sighing and dismay, and also they feel sigh. So sigh means what? So sigh is a long breath that expresses sadness, that expresses tiredness. That means every students, every little boys, they feel tired, they are exhausted, they feel sad when they go to schools to sit, when they go to schools to learn in the class. That means class is not helpful for them to learn. And dismay, you see, dismay means very gloomy. That means their mind becomes very gloomy and it doesn't provide them pleasant. Okay, so this was the end of the second stanza. Now we'll move on to a third stanza. So have a look at this. Then at times I dropping sit. That means the schoolboy says about the times when he sit on the classroom. and spent many an anxious hour. That means every second counts when the schools will be closed. Okay, anxious hour, that means the time he spends was very fearful, was very spooky, and was very scary. They didn't actually enjoy the time. That is why the time here is anxious time. They just pass the time, nothing else. Nor in my book can I take delight. So a schoolboy or any other boys in this school, they didn't find any interesting things, whether it will be book or whether it will be on classes. Everywhere they didn't get pleasure. Delight means pleasure. Nor sit in learning's bower. So bower means what? So bower means a garden where a child can learn happily. So the children didn't catch the learning point into a classrooms. They actually feels it too much boring. The teacher's lecture is very boring. They does not catch it. Okay. And the next line, on through with the dreary shower. So dreary shower, dreary means it's very spooky, it's very scary, it's a very horrible, and shower means the rainfall. So in every atmospheres they were very fearful. They feel it just dull, they feel it just boring, they feel it just lifeless. Okay, so that is why the terms here, the dreary of shower means lifeless things, the boring things, the dull things actually. That is why they didn't enjoy the time. Okay, so I have finished this stanza number 3. Now let us turn on to the 4th stanza. Here is a comparison between the birds and the schoolboy. Okay, comparison is what? It is a metaphorical terms. You see simile, metaphor, and many other the literary terms. There are many literary terms: simile, metaphor, personification, alliteration, onomatopoeia. So there are many literary terms. You see here we will get literary terms that is called metaphor. So metaphor is what? Metaphor is a comparison between two dissimilar things without using as or like. Okay, so here is a comparison between the dissimilar things. One is bird and another is a schoolboy. Okay, so how can the bird that is born for joy sit in a cage and sing? The question. Okay, the question mark of these 2 line sentences. Okay, you see, how can a bird actually? A bird cannot sing when it is imprisoned in a cage. It cannot sing. This is very similar to a schoolboy. If a schoolboy in a cage, or it likes prisons, if there is boundary and if he is confined within the 4 walls, he cannot enjoy the lesson. He cannot enjoy the study. And the 3rd line says, how can a child when fears annoy but droop his tender wing? The next line actually explains, very similar to the birds, a schoolboy cannot enjoy the time like the birds. So that is why he says, how can a child, that means how can a schoolboy, if he fears or if he annoys the classes, if he annoys the school's ground, so he feels that he shouldn't go to school, but droop his tender wing. That means his future, his bright futures will not be flourished if he does not go to school. So we should make the school very pleasant, we should make classroom very friendly, and the teacher should be very caring, and they should be very helpful to the students. Okay, and the next line is, and forgot his youthful spring. That means the students, I mean the schoolboy, they forgot their time, they forgot their youthful times, they forgot their childhood, they passes their childhood in a scary way. That is why their merit, I mean their geniusness will not be flourished. Okay, if they get the congenial atmosphere, very friendly atmosphere in the classes or in the schools, they will be flourished, they will make history in the world, they will do something for the mankind. That means they will be a greatest persons, and if they doesn't go to school, how can they will be? So that is why the lines here says, and forgot his youthful spring. Okay, so this was the stanza number 4. Now let us turn on to 5th stanza before the last. This stanza actually the schoolboy asked his parents. What he asked, have a look at this. Oh father and mother, that means oh parents, if birds are nipped, if birds are nipped, this is a phrase actually, nip in the bud, that means destroy from the very beginning, that is called nip in the bud. So if a flower which is destroys in a very beginning, that doesn't bloom, how can it will smell? It is very impossible to give the fragrance for the humankind. So similarly here, if we destroy the childhood of every children, how can they will be flourished? How can they will be the greatest person in the world? That is why the terms nip in the bud here used. Okay, and blossoms blown away, that means a flower, if the flower's bud is destroyed in the very beginning, how can it will give smell, or how can it will give fragrance? And the next line, and if the tender plants are stripped, if the tender plants, you see the tender plants means very small plants, okay, very eggplants, and you see the tender means it's very soft. Okay, so if the tender plants, I mean if the plants are destroyed in the very beginning, how can the trees becomes a big tree? That is very impossible. And the next line is, of their joy in the springing day, that means their joys of spring will be fade away. Schoolboys, their merriment, their joyful mood, their jovial mood will be fade away by the outturn of the teachers, by the outturn of the teacher's eyes. Okay, and the next line is, by sorrow and care's dismay. So instead of joyful mood, they get dismay, they get sorrow, they become sad, they become boring, they become dull, their life becomes lifeless. Okay, so this was the end of the stanza number 5, and so let us turn on to the next stanza, I mean the final stanza. Okay, and first line, how shall the summer arise in joy, or the summer's fruits appear? So this is the question actually, how shall the summer arise in joy? So is there any way? He actually asked the humankind, he actually asked the mankind, is there any way to get joy in a summer morning, or the summer fruits appear, that means summer's environment will appear very pleasantly? Here fruits is not only the fruits, the flowers, the fruits, the environment, the merrymaking, the pleasant things, everything, that means the surrounding atmosphere, the beautiful surrounding atmosphere says the summer fruits appear. He actually throws a question to us, is there any way to get a joyous environment in a summer? The next line, or how shall we gather what griefs destroy? That means if the griefs or if the sad actually destroys the mind of the children, how they will be blessed in the next year? Mellowing year means ripen year. Ripen year means very matured boy. So how can they will be matured if the griefs, I mean if the sad mood or if the grief stricken heart destroys their life, how can they will be a matured boy? Is it possible? Absolutely not. Or how can they will be blessed? Is there any possibility? No, there is no possibility to be blessed if they remain in the same conditions. So conditions we shall have to make change, and we shall make into congenial for them. Okay, when the blasts of winter appear, that means so winter is not blazing season in European countries, because already I have said that winter means sadness. The sadness theme has shown, if we do not provide them matured, their life will be like a winter season. That means their life will sad, their life will be sad and boring. Okay, so this was the end of the classes, and have a look at this, a very special point. The very beginning of the poem starts with a joyous mood, I mean summer morning, but ends with winter morning. That means in the last stanza, in the last line, the atmosphere becomes gloomy. Entry and exit scenery of this poem is totally different from each other. It is a very contrasting picture. So this contrasting picture, I mean the exit point, winter season, I mean the sadness mood of the children's mind, we will have to make it beautiful, we will have to make it pleasant, we will have to make it joyous. Okay. So what shall be the theme of the poem? Have a look at this. You see, the poem actually criticizes the faulty education system in our society. The school time actually snatches away delight of our students, and the poem actually suggests that school should be friendly, enjoyable, and teachers should also be very friendly. Okay, and you see, the poet expresses his unhappiness with the school because all the joys of the innocent children fade away when they go to school. The schoolboy, he becomes exhausted and he becomes monotonous. He spends many anxious hours in the school. He finds joy neither in books and nor in a classroom. He becomes weary and he is forced. He is forced to go to school, forced to attend the lecture. This was the summary or the theme, and you should write it at your own way, and I shouldn't continue right now because already I have finished everything. Thanks and best of luck. See you in the next classes, and if you like my video then subscribe my channel, and if you already subscribed my channel then thank you very much. That's all.